The Biden administration is warning Russia could use a false flag to invade Ukraine. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to the UN this morning and said despite Russian assurances, it was scaling back its operations on the border. The military has increased the number of troops. He says the ball remains in Vladimir Putin's court.
The Russian government can announce today, with no qualification, equivocation, or deflection, that Russia will not invade Ukraine. State it clearly, state it plainly to the world, and then demonstrate it by sending your troops, your tanks, your planes back to their barracks and hangars and sending your diplomats to the negotiating table. In the coming days, the world will remember that commitment or the refusal to make it.
Joining us now is former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bill Taylor. Ambassador Taylor, welcome. So President Biden says the threat of a Russian invasion is very high. He spoke earlier outside the White House. Let's listen to what he said.
How high is the threat of a Russian invasion right now?
It's very high.
Why?
It's very high because they have not moved any of their troops out. They've moved more troops in, number one. Number two, we have reason to believe that they are engaged in a false flag operation to have an excuse to go in. Every indication we have is they're prepared to go into Ukraine, attack Ukraine. My sense this will happen within the next several days.
And so, Ambassador, tell us a little bit more about this false flag operation. What is your take on what's happening in the Donbass region where Ukraine is accusing Russian-backed separatists of shelling earlier today?
Tanya, this is something that the Russians do. They look for an excuse. And if they can't find an excuse to do what they want to do, like in this case, invade, then they'll manufacture one. And a way to manufacture an excuse is to put Russians in Ukraine and have them attack other Russians that are on the other side of the border. So it will look like Ukrainians attacking Russians, when in fact it'll be Russians in Ukrainian uniforms attacking Russians. And then the Russians will say, look, we're being attacked, and they will then invade Ukraine. That's the false flag.
Ambassador, Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke at the UN today. He pushed for diplomacy. President Biden also said today he believes there's a diplomatic way forward. In your opinion, is this diplomacy dance just a distraction, or is there truly a path forward?
Meg, I think there is truly a path forward. President Putin has a decision to make. President Biden's right. He could pull the trigger at any moment, but he hasn't pulled the trigger yet. I think he's still thinking about how bad it would be for Russia and for him if he pulls that trigger, and he's wondering whether it's all worth it. And there is another way. There's a way to go, exactly what Secretary Blinken said. He can send his diplomats to Geneva, to Vienna, to Brussels, and negotiate issues that he's been complaining about. The fact is, he could tell his Russian citizens that he's actually won this confrontation. He could say, I got those Americans to negotiate with me, and for the first time in 10 years on my security concerns. He could say that to the Russian people, and it would be right. That's the way to go. He should negotiate, and it's still possible. He hasn't yet pulled that trigger.
Well, what more do we know about the response, though, Moscow has had to the U.S. response to Moscow's demands? Do we know where that stands? Because that seems to be the key to a lot of the diplomacy here.
It may be the key. It may be the key. I understand that today in Moscow, the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs finally gave to our ambassador there, Ambassador Sullivan, a response to a document that we, the United States, had given to Russia 2 weeks ago, taken them some time to come back to that. This was the subject of kind of a interesting dialogue between Foreign Minister Lavrov and President Putin, when Putin said, well, you got that paper yet? And Lavrov says, well, we're working on it and we'll get it to you. Well, they finally got it to Ambassador Sullivan. But at the same time, they expelled John Sullivan's deputy, Ambassador Sullivan's deputy chief of mission. It's inexplicable. I cannot understand that.
Speaking of that, why did this happen? And is there a fear of Russia retaliating against the U.S. if its demands are not met?
The Russians say, and Putin has said, that if his demands for security guarantees, addressing his security concerns, if we don't respond to those in the way that he wants, he'll invade Ukraine. So he's holding Ukraine hostage. He's got a gun pointed to Ukraine's head and says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to shoot Ukraine, which, of course, is outrageous. It's a violation of international law. It will kill many Ukrainian civilians and military, tens of thousands. It will kill thousands of Russian military. So this threat to invade Ukraine, if he doesn't get his way, is probably a war crime and is not necessary because he can get a lot of what he wants by going to the negotiating table. He's not going to get NATO to close the open door. He's not going to get NATO to say that Ukraine can't apply, or Sweden can't apply, or Finland can't apply. He's not going to get that. But he might get some of the other concerns that he has laid down last month.
All right. Well, Ambassador Bill Taylor, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight into this region.
Tanya, thank you.